Hello, my name is Diamond Woodson. I am a nursing student at Indiana State University, and today I will be presenting on substance abuse amongst adults in the LBGTQ community. The LBGTQ community is a higher risk for substance abuse when compared to the general population, according to the CDC. Why is this significant? According to the American Addiction Center, the LBGTQ adults are twice as likely to illicit drugs and nearly twice as likely to develop a drug abuse problem. Drug abuse is linked to risky sexual behavior, causing a higher incidence of HIV and other STDs. Drug abuse contributes to many other public health problems, which will be discussed further during this presentation. Objectives include define LBGTQ and substance abuse, identify risk factors of substance abuse amongst the LBGTQ community, classify culture and legal issues surrounding the LBGTQ community, explain how substance abuse affect the community, express necessary steps for successful LBGTQ addiction treatment. You may want to pause this video to take the pretest, so that you can evaluate how much you have learned at the end of this presentation. You can take this time to pause the video and review the acronym for LBGTQ. I think the terms are pretty straightforward. However, I attached a document below to review sexual orientation, sexual behavior, gender identity, and gender roles. These are more abstract concepts related to the LBGTQ community. I feel it is important to understand these concepts when working with the LGBTQ community. Substance abuse is the excessive use of drugs in a way that is damaging to self and/or community. The definition can include physical dependency and psychological dependency. What makes the LGBTQ people more vulnerable to substance abuse? Number 1, internalized homophobia. Heterosexism can affect LGBTQ people by causing internalized homophobia, shame, and negative self-concept. Which brings us to discrimination and social stigmas. Counselors and clients should recognize that these negative feelings results from prejudice and discrimination and is not a consequence of one's sexuality. It is argued that stigma and resulting tension of being a member of a marginalized community such as the LGBTQ community cause some members of the marginalized community to maintain these additional stressors by using mind-altering substances. Leading us to the third problem, lack of support for the LGBTQ people. It is not a surprise to find that these individuals report feelings of isolation, fear, depression, anxiousness, and anger, and have difficulty trusting others. And some LGBTQ individuals may resort to substance abuse to cope with these negative feelings. Substance abuse can also result from co-occurring disorders. These can be mental or physiological disorders that may not be treated due to healthcare disparities or distrust of healthcare professionals, which will be discussed more later, as well as the need for specialized treatment options. Cultural issues. Culture-sensitive treatment often results in effective treatment. A lively debate continues in the LBGTQ community about the compromise of LGBTQ culture. It is important to remember that the LGBTQ community consists of all cultural backgrounds, ethnicities, and races, and can be of any age. They can have obtained any level of education, socioeconomic status. Lastly, they can live in all geographical areas in the United States. In addition to understanding the client's ethnical background, the provider must assess how the client's culture views the LBGTQ community and the effect this view has on the client. Each ethnic minority group has and values about the LBGTQ community. The provider can be extremely helpful to a client if they remember the multi-layer and sometimes oppositing influences on the client. LBGTQ persons of color try to fit into a lesbian and gay community while facing racism and discrimination. For some, the added burden of these issues make finding a comfortable place in society even more complex. Although federal and a number of state statutes protect recovering substance abusers from many forms of discrimination, the LBGTQ individuals are not afforded the same protection in many areas of the country. President Biden is actively working on having the LBGTQ community included in the Equality Act. The Equality Act will provide consistent and explicit non-discrimination protection for the LGBTQ people across key areas of life, including employment, housing, credits, education, public spaces and services, federal funding projects, and injury services. Decades of civil rights history shows that civil rights laws are effective in decreasing discrimination because they provide strong federal remedies targeted to specific vulnerable groups. By explicitly including sexual orientation and gender identity in these foundational laws, the LBGTQ people will finally be afforded the same protection as other covered characteristics under federal law. Meanwhile, programs can safeguard information about clients' substance abuse history and sexual orientation status. The effects of substance abuse are cumulative, significantly contribute to costly social, physical, mental, and public health problems. These problems have been listed on this slide. Please pause the video to take a look. In order to provide successful addictive treatment for the LBGTQ community, there needs to be accessibility. Due to homophobia and discrimination against LBGTQ individuals, some may find it difficult or uncomfortable to access treatment facilities. Substance abuse treatment programs are often not equipped to meet the needs of the population. Heterosexual treatment staff members may be uninformed about the LBGTQ issues, may be insensitive to or antagonist towards LGBTQ clients, or may falsely believe that sexual identity causes substance abuse and can be changed by therapy. These beliefs by providers become barriers to treat the LBGTQ client. There also needs to be a change in modalities. Some issues arise when treating LBGTQ clients using typical treatment modalities for groups, couples, and families. Groups should be inclusive as possible and should encourage each member to discuss relevant treatment issues and concerns. Other clients in the facility may have negative attitudes towards LBGTQ clients. Staff members should ensure that the LBGTQ clients are treated in a therapeutic manner and should be told other clients that homophobia will be untolerated. It should be up to the client to discuss issues surrounding his or her sexual orientations in mixed groups. Mixed groups should be led by trained and culturally competent staff members. LBGTQ clients may have a powerful healing experience by gaining acceptance and support from non-LBGTQ peers. Lastly, continuum of care refers to the services provided in addition to program services and services received at the discharge as follow-up and monitoring activities, outreach, recruitment, and retention. This type of service offered to LBGTQ clients may differ because of the health status of the client or their partner, their living arrangements, the type of stability of their employment, their level of comfort about their sexual orientation, and their previous experience with social providers and service systems. Overall, cultural competence is key. This ends my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. Please take your post-test.